guys, so today I wanted to talk about writing and motivation. And it's early morning and it's rush hour, so I apologize in advance if you hear some traffic noises or some weird stomping up and down because my neighbors are apparently having domestic issues, so there may be some up and down the stairs running. It's my life. Okay, so moving on, I have been doing a little bit of soul searching. You all know, I've been in this transition period between drafts, and I've been kind of in a funk. So I've been telling myself that it's time to write something new, and I think part of that is just because I've been a little down in the dumps and I've been lacking in motivation. No matter how much I tell myself that something is worth doing, there are days when there just is no desire to continue. It seems like there's no end in sight, and this project is never going to be finished, and nobody's ever going to want to read it. And it's, every fear that every writer has. It's every writer's fear that you're never going to finish, that you're never going to get an agent, that you're never going to get published. Some days it's just hard to find the will to continue when you're obviously facing such odds, and they are huge odds for any writer in any genre, in any format. You know that it's very difficult. Even with these videos, I may be talking into a void. My viewership may be zero, but I still kind of feel a drive to do them, and that's kind of what's guiding my writing as well. It's difficult, and in thinking about my process and where I am right now, I had to admit to myself that I'm not ready to write a sequel. I really shouldn't. The outline was fine. That was a good project. That was a way to distract my brain from all the other mess that's going on and waiting for beta feedback to come back and just reading it myself and being in a right state of mind to look critically at the current draft. But the reality is that if I ever want to make this project happen, I do need to push myself to finish the first book. It has to be complete, it has to be readable, and it has to be polished enough to even try to make the case. Kitty cat, what are you doing? Come out of there. Come out. What are you doing? Oh, we have a visitor. We have a visitor. He's being a nuisance underneath me. So I feel like, oh, shaking the camera, not good, sorry. So I feel like that desire has to be set aside for the time being, and I really just need to focus. I need to push through. I have a day job. It's hard to find the motivation as it is, but I need to just stick to the one book right now. The other pieces that may happen, that just has to wait until another day when I'm better able to even address that. So the ways that I stay motivated, and some of these are things that I've already discussed, like with the journaling and with the planning, and I just use the same techniques in just about every aspect of my life. So one way I stay motivated, and this is something I only recently started doing about 4 months ago, is in my work planner, which I don't normally bring home, but today I'm between offices, so I did bring it home. And I have been creating these index cards every month with my monthly goals. And for the most part, these are life, work, and writing goals, but the writing goal always tends to come first. I need to, and this helps me to look back at the end of the month and see what I've done, what I've accomplished, and just kind of being able to tick those off motivates me to keep going, because I look at my work planner much more often than I look at my writing planner or any of my other notes that I keep at home. So keeping this at work with me, when I look through, it tells me, you know what, you have to get back on track, because even if nobody ever reads this book, nobody will read this book if you don't finish it. So I have to start somewhere, and that's one way to do it. And that helps. It's not a perfect system, but it does help me. But that idea that even if nobody ever reads this book, I really won't give it a chance if I never write it. So that's the biggest motivator for me right now. I'm just telling myself, you're not ready for book 2, but book 1 can happen. If I don't write it, then nobody will, and that's my main motivator. I need to be the one to write this story, and deep inside, I feel like the words are there, the story is worthy. It's just not ready. And that's probably the biggest motivator for me, making it ready. The fact that I realize it's not ready is the first step. Getting to ready is the big goal. Doing that, the idea of small assignments, which I discussed in another video and I'll link that below, but the small assignment idea not only works very well for day-to-day writing, but just in thinking of the bigger picture. So if I think of the end game, it's terrifying. There's no way to, see myself at the end of this road and not be terrified of the steps it will take to get there, because there's so much involved in reading and writing and rewriting and drafting, and sometimes just completely trashing a whole section and doing the whole thing anew. So there's so many steps, and that is overwhelming. So I've taken to thinking of this in terms of the small accomplishments, and that is another huge motivator for me. So rather than thinking of the thing, just thinking of, you know what, I just wrote a great scene, and maybe I won't think so the next time I read this chapter, but right now it feels good, and that's motivation enough. Or I just finished a chapter, and maybe it's not the last chapter, maybe it's the fourth chapter, but that's 4 more chapters than I had before. So thinking of it in that way as the small victories, it's something that, for instance, people who are in their weight loss journeys also think of as like the non-scale victories. So I think of these as like the non-novel victories, I guess, like the victories before the big one, hopefully, if it ever happens. And that is probably the biggest thing pushing me right now. The idea that I may not have the finished product, I'm not ready to query, I'm not ready to pitch. I have a big flaw that I am still trying to figure out, and that's what I'm hoping to get back from my betas, is some feedback on what they feel about that flaw, because I know it's there, and that's the first step, admitting I'm wrong. Or broken, I guess. But that's the first step in getting it done. So motivation, it's a hard, long road, if you want to think of it that way, but taking it just one small victory at a time is the biggest motivator I can think of, and hopefully that will be helpful to any of you out there watching this and writing your own novels or theses or work assignments or whatever. This works across the board for all writing assignments. Writing is difficult, it's time consuming, and you just kind of have to take it one small victory at a time if you're going to motivate yourself to keep doing it. So hopefully that's helpful, and if you guys have any questions about writing or my process or anything else that you can think of or want me to post a video on, please do leave it in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it or would like to see more, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.